What's up? I'm Son America. Shari is here. As you know, the Trump administration lifted some sanctions on Syria in May 2025. It happened after he promised in the forum in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, when because of the Mohammed bin Salman asked President Trump to lift off some sanctions on Syria and give them second chance. And I remember he said that, and then everyone stood up and um, gave him the round of applause for his generosity and forgiveness. And I think it's worth to note that Al-Jolani, the new president of Syria, uh, he had there was a prize, $10 million for whoever tells FBI or anybody like Pentagon, give him his location. And the crazier part is still those sanctions, still those bounty price is on, and it's so crazy that nobody's using. Like, uh, still, I remember nobody took it off. I mean, of course, right now, like that where he's located, so nothing is not gonna happen. But the crazy part is like once he was wanted. Now he's shaking hands with President Trump because they had a small meeting in Riyadh. That was Ben Salman, him, Jolani, and then President Trump. Um, I made a meme about that. Like Trump said, "Wait a minute. If I call Hegseth to come in here and arrest you, I'm gonna get $10 million from my own government," which is crazy. But anyway, so he said, okay, I'm going to give them second chance, lifted some of the sanctions on Syria as he promised. Like, I think 2 days ago, he put it on action, including financial regulation that had previously banned US citizens and companies from making most financial transactions with Syrian citizens and entities, which is the same thing is applied to Islamic Republic, to Iran. At the same time, the State Department issued a 6-month waiver on some sanctions imposed under the Caesar Syria Civilian Protection Act. So it's basically 6 months to let basically people in Syria breathe, the companies breathe, and they can have the market gets open to them. Specifically, the Treasury Department lifted a sweeping regulation that had prohibited US citizens and companies from engaging in most financial transactions with Syrian individual or entities. So when it comes to the SWIFT, they can use the SWIFT, so the global banks, global market would be open to them, so they can have transactions, so they don't need to go around. They just, some people like laundry or try to use the third person, third party somehow instead of directly make a deal with other companies because there's a sanction. So to give it to somebody who is unknown, to give, like Iran does that as well because there's sanction on Iran selling oil. So what Iran does, it's giving to third party to sell the oil for them, and of course in middle, like agents gonna get their portion. But that is gone, so directly American companies and American individuals, they can go invest in Syria. The State Department also placed a 6-month waiver on sanctions that had been implemented under the Caesar Act in 2020. The waiver is in 2020. Assad was still the president of Syria. The waiver is intended to facilitate investment support, recovery, and reconstruction effort and advance humanitarian efforts in Syria, according to a statement from Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Uh, if Marco Rubio says that, it means it is a done deal. And already Trump gave the word, so uh, of course, we know already, like, it's gonna happen. It's not just a word. And after Saudi Arabia spent $600 billion on investment on United States, and Trump gave his word. So of course it would happen, and it doesn't bother United States. And I think, Mike Baker, I think, former CIA agent who is friend of Joe Rogan, his analogy, his strategy, his vision as a former CIA agent is Well, if it is empty land, if we don't take it, our enemy's adversary is going to take it. So why don't we take it first? So this is like either it's going to be ours or our enemies. So which one should it be? So we go for the first one. If you from look at it from Mike Baker or other CIA perspective glasses, you would understand like China would love to invest in Syria. Imagine that after decades of civil war, um, I think 12 million people left the country, migrated outside, and hundreds of thousands of people got persecuted, died, they got killed or went to the prison. Basically you would see just like a is rubble, like just like a Gaza flattened, so many areas flattened, and because of those sanctions, nobody invests, and also there is no stability. So even if that was no sanction, why would somebody invest in Syria if tomorrow it's gonna get bombed by somebody and nobody gonna claim it, and there's no insurance, you cannot insure those investments. But right now, since there is a stability, so more people gonna come, and of course, the Syria are gonna put America first for investment. And I think Syria, because of its location, the geography it has, and also it doesn't have that much oil, but I think Syria has some potential, not as much as Iran, but has some potential. So United States got that market with Saudi Arabia together. And of course, you know that if they want to buy the jets, they would buy American jets, American fighter jets or tanks or everything. So it's gonna be business, you know, like it's business. But the waiver is these actions were taken as a first step in fulfilling a pledge by President Trump to improve the relation between the U.S. and Syria, according to Reuters. You don't need Reuters because already he gave his word to others. President Trump had previously stated that he expected sanction relief to be followed reaffirmed to be followed by action by the Syrian government, including departure of foreign militants, the deportation of what he termed Palestinian terrorists, and the prevention of ISIS resurgence. And on top of that, I mean, it didn't mention, but I think one other condition was to normalize the relationship with Israel. I remember that he said that two bold statements that Giuliani gave. One of them was, "I'm ready to have the Trump Tower over there in Syria. We can welcome it." So you know to be appealing to appeasing like Trump to make him feel more comfortable to lift off the sanction. The other statement that he made was, under good circumstances, we will normalize with Israel, even though the big brother Saudi Arabia hasn't mentioned that. You saw that even as a condition, Trump didn't put those the normalization relationship like Ibrahim Accord. He didn't put it on the Saudi Arabia, but I think definitely said it to Syria to make it like Israel happy. Like yeah, I didn't put them on the demand like one of the condition to have the uh, trade with Saudi Arabia, but at least I gave you the Syria. Um, so I'm pretty sure I'm very positive that one of the conditions was normalization with Israel, and but yeah, like the make sure that ISIS is not there anymore, departure of foreign militants, so other countries like other countries who have the military, like is Russia and Iran used to have it, and America said you have to kick down, which also makes sense if you look at it that way. Look at this perspective. Like if America wants to bring investors over there, they have to make sure like those countries, the people of those countries that they hate America wouldn't be close. Like that would be the very close access. Imagine like instead of having I don't know like if they want to do something to Apple headquarters, they have to come all the way in here. But if it is in Syria, it's very close. So basically, that would be very good target for America's adversary. So it says you have to clean it, Syria from all of our enemies. So we know that it's stable. So that was one of the conditions which actually makes sense. Anybody who hates us, anybody who is our enemy, good or bad, Doesn't matter, kick them out if you want us to, because you have to decide. Basically, I totally understand. Like one of the reason that Assad fell was because he wanted to make everyone's happy. Like in one hand, he wanted to make the deal with Arabs, also get money from Iran, also not attacking Israel, also doing the deal with Russia. So you will see there's so much conflict of interest, and eventually all of them, they're gonna lose their interest in cooperating with Assad. That's why Assad found himself alone, because he had to pick the side and he didn't. So right now Trump is saying he has to pick the side, and I think that is gonna change the face of Middle East, in my opinion. Let me show something. Uh, let me, sorry. Yes. So the corridor that Israel wanted to have, it's called IMEC. It's called India comes all the way in the Gulf of Oman to Persian Gulf, United of Emirat, and then Saudi Arabia, and from Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and from Jordan, Israel, and from the Israel goes to Mediterranean Sea and go to the Greece, and from there go to Europe. So basically from east to west through this belt, this corridor. And in here, if Syria was under Assad or anybody else, it wouldn't be stable. Why? Because it would be very close. They could attack anytime they wanted. So if enemies of this corridor wanted to interrupt the flow and the train, the path, that would be very easy. But if Syria normalized with them already, it's bestie with Saudi Arabia, and if they do that with the Jordan and Israel, of course they are not enemy with the Jordan, but still it's not, they didn't have the best relationship together. If it happens, so here it's gonna be safer. And one other thing is Persian Gulf, that we have to see what happens between Israel and Iran too, because they can interrupt as well. But I don't think that's why Saudi Arabia is doing its best to keep their relationship with Iran very healthy and friendly, to make sure it wouldn't interrupt that belt. So we have to see what happens, but it's definitely in the process. Thanks for watching. Like always, Azaba Sobila.